next question, that is question number 5 here. So consider the following statements. The Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959 exempts several posts from disqualification on the grounds of office of profit. That is statement number 1. Second statement is the above mentioned act was amended 5 times. Oh my God. And the third statement is the term office of profit is well defined in the Constitution of India. So we have 3 statements. Okay. So the second statement would be kind of scary. It's kind of scary for me because I emphasize very little on all this ultra trivial factual stuff. So when I see something like that, it can put me in a state of instability, but we have to gather yourself, right? So let us keep that 2 statement aside. So let us see what are the relevant information you know about Office of Profit. I hope you would have read about this Office of Profit in the chapter on Parliament in Lakshmikant. So that is one way you would have some information. Then you would have seen some controversies surrounding this Office of Profit. Earlier there was issue of Pranab Mukherjee when he was going to be appointed as a president. He also he was the chair of National Statistical Commission or something of that sort. For that, it was argued that he has to be removed on the ground of violation of this Office of Profit. Then even before that, Sonia Gandhi in the first UPA government, she was an MP and at the same time she was member of the National Advisory Council. There this Office of Profit debate has propped up. So that is one way you would know something about Office of Profit, and another way is that you would have learned pretty much what Office of Profit means. Okay, so if you have learned Office of Profit, you know that Office of Profit is a mechanism whereby members of the legislature won't be permitted to occupy offices given by the executive, because ultimately the responsibility of the legislature is to hold the executive accountable. So if they take some favors from the executive by means of some officers, some government officers, there would be a conflict of interest. Obviously they won't be that hell-bent on making the executive accountable, right? Because there is a quid pro quo that can go between both of them. So that is the basic idea of Office of Profit. That is something I guess most of you would be knowing if you are a serious aspirant. Another thing pertaining to that, another important information you would know about that is that Office of Profit is not defined in the Constitution, right? Office of Profit is not defined in the Constitution. So yeah, that is something you would be knowing. And the third statement is that the Office of Profit is well defined in the Constitution of India. So even otherwise, the context of Office of Profit, let us hope that we don't know that information. So I for sure knew that Office of Profit is not defined in the Constitution, because every time when a particular office comes, the situation changes. To some offices there would be some pecuniary benefit, some monetary incentive attached to it. To some there won't be monetary incentive attached to it. Some would be, to some post appointments would be made by government. So you never know how to classify whether this is an Office of Profit or not. So it has been left to the judiciary, and judiciary has made some provisions or overall guidelines in that regard. So that is how the Office of Profit system in India works right now. So there is no pretty much definition in that regard. So that is something I knew, but if you don't know that information, you can think about the term Office of Profit is well defined in the Constitution of India. Let us take that term, Office of Profit. Do you think that is something that can be fully captured? Just before we saw about okay, I think we are ready to see that, about proven misbehavior and incapacity. Can you about the Supreme Court judge impeachment, can you bring so much clarity or define all these terms pakka? Because you know for sure that these are ideas which would evolve in future, right? So going by that idea itself, you know that it won't be fully defined. So if you can take that leap, I think you would be in a position to eliminate option 3. So if you eliminate option 3, UPSC has given you a single answer. option A, that is 1 and 2. So by no means you need to know about the second statement, that is the above act was amended 5 times. So if you know that office of profit is not well defined in the constitution, you can easily eliminate 3, 2 automatically goes. So I mean 2 automatically becomes right, so the answer would be 1 and 2 because all other statements, all other options contain 3. So yeah, so that is a one clear way to look at this question. So I have to admit that here some amount of knowledge on office of profit would be very much warranted. I can't try to wrap my head around solving this question if you don't know anything about office of profit, but that is the case with UPSC. I want to emphasize that idea again and again because these days I have been hearing from so many mentors and coaching institutes that they have been trying to solve everything with pure logic. I don't know whether that is the case, whether you can solve every question with pure logic. What I call is that you have to have a mechanism of making enlightened guesses or informed guesses. So you have some information to back your premise, then you make some leap of faith from there, right? So that is a kind of logic I think is more sustainable and safe in a UPSC context.